with some kangaroos. So, just kidding.
That's intense.
I'm just kidding.
That's an internet joke, right?
Yeah.
Wow. The
I'm
guy
impressed.
fighting the kangaroo? Okay.
I did not headbutt any kangaroos. I went like this to the drafts, too.
Do they feed them there? Did you guys do that?
No. We,
Jay, what does the extra day do for you guys? I hadn't really thought about that, but typically you guys are playing on day one.
Yeah, we played on day 2 also in 23. I think it allows you separation from the super regional. It allows you to embrace the things that come along with being in Omaha, which is really important, and then also gives you time to settle into your routine of preparing and executing. And I feel like we've had a good couple days here of that.
What's a lesson that this team has taught you this year after, making their run to Omaha?
I'm proud of their consistency. I think, when you face the schedule that we play and that we played this year, the quality of teams week in and week out to consistently play near their capability, that's what championship teams do. And that's probably the thing that I'm most proud of. And also finding different ways to win. And we're very tough when we have all phases going, but even when we haven't, we've been able to find ways to win, and I'm proud of them for that.
With the difficult light and shadow situation in left field over at Charles Schwab, how should Derek sort of go about trying to navigate that, because it's not easy?
Yeah, we have talked about that. We put something in place, a couple things in place actually that will be important early in the game, so he'll be prepared for it. And it is tough. I've seen it affect plays and games here every time that I've been here. Like literally every single trip, there's been an issue where that's come into play, including a couple in our favor. So we feel like we probably have the most detailed plan to make sure he's ready for that.
Do players always have the demeanor once they get on college campus, or is that something that they grow into, and or does the coaching staff help with that? Kay Anderson's a guy that kind of comes to my mind when I initially think
Yeah, I think some have it. The elite performer that has great confidence, a lot of times it's exuded in body language, and I can tell when it's authentic and when it's not. With him, it most certainly is. He should be confident. I think his upbringing, his great parents, again, high expectations, great level of discipline, and he's talented. He's a really good baseball player. He's a really good athlete, and all those things, make him unique and, in my word, special.
Where has he grown the most from last year to this year?
A big experience. I talk to the players a lot when they come from high school baseball anywhere to, let's say, the SEC or Omaha type of, it's like going to the moon. It's the biggest jump they'll ever make in their baseball career. He had a very good freshman season last year. I think his growth has been the arsenal expanding and physically. He did a great job in the summer and the fall. He's much stronger than he was a year ago, and I think we've really seen that durability, deep into games and deep into this season.
What do you kind of remember about Zack Root facing them earlier this season, and has he gotten better since
He's a great pitcher. He's one of the best pitchers in the country. It's hard not to think about. We recruited him really hard and didn't get him. I think what he does a really good job of is he throws a ton of strikes, and his misses are very small. And so he puts a lot of pressure on the hitter where you're making a decision on every pitch because he's going to be around the zone. Have to fight him hard. It's not, runs will not come easy in the game against him. We still have some work we're putting in tonight on making sure we're buttoned up and just try to make it as hard on him as we can.
We've seen Baum Walker and we've seen the box, but what do you think this matchup is going to be like tomorrow here at Omaha, and how do you prepare the guys for what will be, I'm sure, an electric atmosphere?
Yeah, I think you embrace it, you get excited about it. I think first night, second night game here is one of those you put on the calendar. Like, you want to be playing in those games because there's the most amount of fans here, because there's 8 teams still alive. In my opinion, we're 2 of the best programs in the sport, too, and there's no question about that. And you look at the caliber of pitchers and the caliber of players on both sides, makes for everything that's good about college baseball. And so I don't know, there's nothing about that that's not awesome. So dive into the awesome.
You mentioned, How do you balance that, aggressive offensive approach that y'all have with the patience needed to win here in Omaha?
I think, we just try to build the whole thing around winning any type of game. Pitchers duel. We've won a couple of those. I want to say Anthony versus Pico Khan was a 2-1 game. Kaysen came in and closed it out, so we're very comfortable. We won 2-1 at Texas A&M. Slugfest a little bit last Saturday. The hottest game in the history of baseball. Most offensive environment that the box could possibly be. So I think it's just that old Coach Burtman how to win awareness. What's required in each pitch, each at bat, each inning, on both sides of the ball, and just try to go execute it.
As a pitching staff, how do you take advantage of the park?
I don't think a home run is earned here is what I would say. Sometimes going through the SEC, and I understand why the parks were built the way that they were, and from a marketing, business, baseball boom strategy, it worked. It makes the strategy behind it a little maddening sometimes, but this is different. And, we hit some home runs here in 23, but they're earned. There's not that I can't believe that got out homer here. So I think you have to be prepared to score runs different ways, and then, the limiting the free base situation, whether it's walks, errors, hit by pitches, and then, play smart baseball, like talk on defense, throw the ball to the right base, things that our team is really good at. And I'm confident. I think going to Hoover, although I think Hoover is a little more offensive than this place, I think that's a good trial run, playing in a bigger stadium, because really nobody has a ballpark like these in the SEC. I haven't been to Kentucky yet. It's kind of weird. Like, I've been the coach for like 7 years at LSU and finally play at Kentucky, but it's different for sure.
You mentioned a matchup with Arkansas seemed inevitable. Maybe that's just kind of how the bracket worked out. But what gave you the confidence that they would end up being here?
I just think they're the most talented team in the country on both sides of the ball. I think they have a position player up for the Golden Spikes Award, and then the pitching that they continually run out. They always play defense, athletically built, and just kind of a deal. Like, as you're going through the season, you kind of go like, that's definitely an Omaha team. And we played well in that series, winning 2 out of 3, and even the game we lost, we did some things well in that game. So just kind of feel for that. In 23, I knew we would play Tennessee. I think they were even a 2 seed in the tournament, but I knew they would end up here. The first year, I want to say it was like Auburn and A&M maybe weren't highly thought of, but when they came into the box, it's like, well, if that's not an Omaha team, then we got a lot of work to do, here. And so just kind of feel for that, and they have a great team.
Did you ever think about coming here when you weren't coaching here?
Yeah,
sure, you had an opportunity.
It just kind of got to the point. I want to say I almost came with Chris Bryant when he won the Dick Hauser Trophy, and it just was one of those things. Like, I didn't just wanted to do it when our team was playing, and then in 2015 we actually scheduled Creighton non-conference and came here in like May, and that was like the clincher of like, all right, we've got to find a way to get this done. And at that time, I was thinking at Nevada. You know what I mean? We have to play here in June, and just a special place. And it was cool being over at the zoo last night and seeing the old remnants of Rosenblatt. But Charles Schwab Field, man, it's my favorite place in the world.
Why was it important for you to let Mick come on with this group and have Gavin here as well?
Yeah, I mean, there's the program foundations for us are fundamentals, compete, and character. And the compete thing, that's what I think of when I think of Gavin, and obviously him having pitching success here. I think that's good to have him around, and he's been great in the dugout. He's very close to me, and just some things that he says or says to his teammates, I feel like that's important. And then, with Mick, he's been here for 3 years, has a national championship ring. He's the one guy that probably just needs to go somewhere where he has a little more clean path to play, but he's everything right about our team. And I think about character, when I think about Mick. And, it was just a personal decision I made, and I left it up to him, honestly. It's like we had this conversation like a month and a half or 2 months ago that he was going to move on to another opportunity, and I'm happy for him. I think there's actually like a coach flying in to meet with him, here, as they should. But it was just kind of a personal decision, not something we would normally do. Person he is, that's why I made the exception.
You talk a lot about, sorry, Bill. You talk a lot about these guys being great humans.
Yeah.
And Chris wins the Tony Gwyn Award.
Yeah.
Just speak to just how he's, sort of allowed himself to play a role in this team, and how the character sort of builds itself out.
Yeah, I'm really proud of him for that, and that one has some personal, sentimental thing for me too. I knew Tony, coached against him. My first year as the head coach at Nevada, he was the head coach at San Diego State, and I was telling the story this morning. Like, we played 2 series against them, and he was at the first series, and I'm like shaking hands with him. I'm shaking hands with Tony Gwyn. Like, this guy was like my hero when I was like 12 years old. And then the second series, he had gotten sick, and he actually didn't come up to our place, and then he passed away like at the very end of the season. But being in San Diego for as long as I was, like, just seeing this is like one of the best human beings on the planet as far as positivity, energy, thoughtfulness, even as one of the best players going in the big leagues. And so I think it's really cool, because when I think about him, I think a lot of things that I love and admire about Chris. I mean, the energy, the enthusiasm, the positivity, the smile he walks into our facility with on a daily basis. Just seeing his excitement both when we won the regional and super regional. Like, he texted me at like 3 a.m. the night we beat Little Rock, and was just so fired up to kind of keep going. And I don't know that you can even quantify the baseball and the personal impact that Chris has made on our team and program this year.
Was there a
You're good. Okay. All right. Last one.
Go ahead.
Was there a specific moment this season that you looked at your team and you knew they were built for Omaha?
I think we really focused on the work. I think there was a lot of question marks, not in terms of talent, but how this talent would become a team and create its own brand of baseball through our fundamentals to be worthy of being here. And they did that. And I don't think there was much question about that. I think when you win as many close games against elite teams as we did, there wasn't a question in my mind whether we were capable of it as we were doing that. And then you just got to get through the baseball part of it. You got to survive a hot team coming into your regional and playing great, and having the toughness to do that. And then we've really, these last 3 games, I was telling somebody today, is the last 3 games I'll never forget the rest of my life, just in how proud I am of how dialed in what they've needed to do to win.
Tell Palmer, everybody. Don't say those.
Yeah, that's what I was like. What?